very pleased to be welcoming everyone to the book launch for a new introduction to counselling and psychotherapy, embedding context, diversity, and equity into practice. And very pleased to be welcoming Mahmoud Ahmed, who is author on the book. And just by way of introduction, Mahmoud, if I can read your bio, if that's all right. So Mahmoud is an independent therapist, author, trainer, and founder of the Anti-Discrimination Focus, TADF. He has an extensive experience in client mental health advocacy work, including the book Client Perspectives of Therapy, and more recently in supporting the counselling and psychotherapy profession embed the social context as standard into the curriculum. He holds a private practice in Binfield, Berkshire, since 2014. Mahmoud, it's great to have you back at online events and so pleased to have you here for this book launch. Really a warm welcome.
Thank you, John. Good to be here.
Well, it's been a long road and a lot of energy to produce what really is a very important resource for the field. And definitely those beginning parts as we're coming into the field so that we can engage in terms of our life as a student, but also particularly for the institutions that are whole and the learning, the training organizations, the educational organizations. I think my favorite question to colleagues who are coming in to talk to us about the books that they've been writing is like, why would you put yourself through that, Mahmood? Like, I think writing a book, bringing it to the world is such a big project. Can you give us a sense of what compelled you to write the book and to engage in this project?
I think I would, yeah, thanks for that, John. Big question. And first of all, I'd like to thank Online Events for hosting this. Thanks everyone here for being here and spending this time with us, especially on a Saturday. I know Saturdays are difficult for a lot of people. So welcome and thank you. And also, obviously, Jeff is here on the technical team and Sandra and John as well. Thank you very much. Um, so what is it? Um, what is it about this that sort of drove me to do it, I guess, is what you're asking.
Yeah.
Um, I think I didn't want to be honest, I don't want to write the book. I didn't actually have the capacity or the time to do it. And it certainly wasn't part of my plan to write the book. Um, but I think it's also a very meaningful project. I think that if I was to answer it, is what drove me was love and care, really, was the driver behind writing the book and the work we've been doing around advocacy around the client as well. So that's where I would start from. It's actually love and care, not only for um, individual clients, the profession, but wider society. So my driver was that and is that rather than a particularly I wanted to write the book. I felt the idea was sound. I felt that it was needed and it was a solution that we needed. So I think could answer it many ways as well, in terms of personal ways or collective ways. I think I personally think actually the book would have been written by someone. Someone would have written the book eventually. Um, I do actually believe that in my heart that that is what would have happened. Um, because this is an ongoing issue we're trying to deal with and filling the gaps around stronger foundations, inclusion, less harm. And in a way, I say, I guess the it's about something that was always needed right from the start, since we started helping this profession of helping. But I would actually go even further than that. It's actually before that, because this is about relationships, as I'll explain later on in the second hour. So fundamentally, this is sort of an inception point for me. It's about the relationship And have we done enough to understand what relationships are and how to build them? And that's my sort of like into this is that that's the driver for me. Personally, at a personal level, it's meaningful. The example I like to give actually, and this is, I remember this very clearly, was my own training in 2018, 2019, something like that. Sorry, not 2008, 2009, something like that. Lost a decade. Time has gone
Time
past.
flies quickly,
Yes,
Mahmood.
yes,
Yes.
it was a few years ago.
Yes.
But this is actually a true story. I remember even the first training course I developed, I mentioned this story. It was quite an emotive story, really. Is that I was in the first year of training and there was a student there. We got on quite well. We weren't at a friendship level, but we were getting there. And she was from a more, let's say, a different cultural background. Um, and she wasn't really fitting in to the group, and she spoke to me about that. And on one day when we were having our group check-in, she decided to be very open, and she felt she was not part of the group. And she said to the facilitator of the group that she didn't feel that she fitted in. And in that moment, there was silence, and no one answered. No one said anything. And this is a true story. Um, Even now, my heart's starting to beat a bit faster as I'm even telling the story. And then a few seconds pause. Although that silence that felt like a extreme, like you could hear a pin drop. And then she said it again because she thought that someone hadn't heard her. And again, she asked again to the group, "I don't feel people understand me." And again, the question was met with silence, even from the tutor. And then she said it once again, a bit more quietly, and this was silence again, and no response. And this time, last time, I remember distinctly, she said it in a sort of quieter way, almost like a people don't understand me type thing. And I think this is an important point personally for me, because at that point, she did look towards me, and I felt she was disappointed in that I was a bystander. I didn't interject. I didn't add nothing. So it's one of many experiences that students can have, but it's a personal one, and it felt really it's haunted me quite a lot because the student didn't hear from her again, didn't know she left the course, and I think that's the bit, isn't it? That this is real stuff. It's easy to talk about harm. It's easy to talk about what's missing curriculum in a very sort of detached way, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
But actually, this is the relation. She was asking for a relationship in that moment, I believe, that she didn't feel connected in any way to the group. And collectively, personally, we failed to, well, what would have happened if that had been received? And not only just received, but also understood.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that was understood, received, and that's the solution the book is offering, what would have changed? What would have happened? What would have catalyzed in that moment differently? So that's even like speaking now, it's like, yeah, I could feel those feelings.
Well, I can
And
feel it myself too, Mahmood. I
yeah,
mean,
John, yeah,
and I want to kind of say, oh, what a story, but it's not just, I mean, this is a real life experience,
yeah,
and that has been repeated, I guess, so many times in so many different training environments. Is that part of what you're saying, Mahmood? It's like
Yeah.
it's had such a big impact on you personally, and you know it's not unusual. Like this is,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm sure even with our audience here, there'll be someone will know someone if they're themselves or someone where if they felt a sense of injustice, not feeling fairly treated, and overtly harmed as well. You know,
yeah,
people spend a lot of time, money, and resources themselves to come to a training course or to therapy itself, and to have this type of replication
yeah.
going on. And I'm
And
sure people have got their own
yes,
experiences as
I
well.
can see some responses in the chat kind of resonating. And I, how do you conceptualize what like was going on in that moment that you're then wanting to address in the book, Mahmood? Like
Yeah,
what is missing in these environments, or like or the gap that as trainers and educators that we need to stretch into that you're kind of taking care of in the book? Does that make sense to the
yeah,
question?
mate.
Yeah,
What is the bridge between that and
yeah,
this? Um, how do I answer that? It's what is known probably by a lot of people. It's an open secret in this profession. It's an open secret that matters of difference, matters of context and social context and positions. These are open secrets in the profession. That these are othered. These are excluded. They're not in the foundations. And if you are lucky to be able to reflect on that in your training course, that's great. But for most, I think it's the opposite. So the bridge, I guess, for the book is to think about what is not the problem, because the problem has been discussed. If you look at our own history as collective history, this has been stretching back to 50, 60 years. I can quote you things. Even books and writings. This is not new. This is an open secret. So the book is the solution at the roots of therapy, not at the leaves, not at the branches, not at the trunk, in the soil of therapy. And the book is offering a way out and to address these gaps. And as I'll talk about later on, it is the relationship. We thought that we understood the relationship, um, but we don't have a cohesive view of that relationship yet. So there's more completion that the book is offering into that and what that means for self-development skills, theory, practice, as well as advocating, because advocacy is important now. In that example giving there, where was the advocacy? Where was the advocacy for this student? Who was helping? Who was trying to, bridge or mediate or provide something that validated someone's experience? And this is time and time again. So the book is really that bridge. It's the solution. I'm proud of it. The people that I'm involved with TADF, are proud of it. Now it's up to the community whether they want to adopt it or not, really, or in
yeah,
the middle. Let's hope so.
yeah. Thank you, Mahmood. I think it's so powerful the way you articulate that open secret. So it's not it's right there and completely unengaged with, and it's so incredible in a group environment, and it's so deep in the human experience too of wanting to be the same as everybody else. And if someone's saying, "Oh, I'm having a different experience," and that not being met, and whatever that different experience is, but there's such a drive to create a group think and a homogenize the group experience. And yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. And could, I mean, I know I didn't say much about the structures we're starting. I'm just realizing in this first hour, we're more going to be in dialogue. And I know in the second hour, you're going to do some presenting around the models. So we're really looking forward to that in the second hour. But could you tease us a little bit around, or give us a little teaser around, like, because you're saying there are things have been written and over a long period of time, but what is it this book is catching that will then fill in, like, creates that solution that you're describing? Like,
Yeah,
what's the difference that you've been able to get at with the colleagues that you've been working with? And yeah.
yeah. Um, how do I answer this? I think the key part of this is that there's complexity, acknowledging the complexity and the nuance here.
Mm,
Because some of the issues is that we are working at a very low level. You know, we have communities of different, various communities, we have different stakeholders, invisible groups, erased groups, we have context, we have culture, we have trauma informed, we have bodies and beliefs and knowledge and worldview. So even saying all that, even now, even though I've got more of a handle on it, that feels very overwhelming, doesn't it? Do you
mm,
think? Neurodiversity, identity, race, cult, all this stuff, gender, and all the erased stuff, all the things that we haven't thought about, all the people we haven't considered. I think our starting point is that it's overwhelming. It is an overwhelm. Um, so I think the key thing that I'm offering is to get a handle on that overwhelm. How do
mm,
we how do we provide a helicopter view, a more strategic sort of architecture of this, of our ways of working,
mm,
so that we can actually build or put our arms around the whole population? And the whole population we can only put our arms around the whole population if we consider groups and different positions and different beliefs and so on. So therefore, the the teaser, I guess, is to say this book provides a very whole, holistic, that's why it's called whole embedded practice,
mm.
a view of that, or an answer to that complexity. How do we hold such complexity um, in our minds right from the start of our primary school education? So I guess
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the position in is to consider the problems, but also what's the problems. We need to understand what the problems are, but we now need solutions.
Yes.
And the only way I had left, to be honest, options wise, because the TADF community has always been about standards and proficiency and what's missing and who's not included, who's excluded, and so on. So the only option left, personally, for me was to write a book about it and to provide to it, because it provides a model for the base curriculum in a book.
Yeah.
It leaves no sort of doubt in terms of what the solution is or the structure of the curriculum should be and how fundamentally our lived experiences, our identities and so on, we'll talk about it later, are embedded throughout all the knowledge, not in part, not as a sideline, not as an adult, but universally for every human being, and so that we can have a uniform understanding of what it means to live in the context and society we have, but also in consideration of wider issues like the socio-political issues that people have, historical issues people have, climate. Uh,
to pop that back on. And yeah, great. Thank you, Mahmood. Sorry about the distraction there, about just disappearing. I think just as I went out, the last thing I heard was you saying, or like describing about those different elements in culture and in our society. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could could you just keep going with that little bit that you were on, or the
Oh, right. Okay.
distraction?
You probably missed that. I hope the
I
recording probably
missed
got
it.
it as well. So
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
saying that there's all this complexity. We need simplicity as well with that complexity. What's the sort of, how does the chaos get organized?
yes,
And
yes.
and then we embed that right at the start of our
Okay.
primary school education.
Mm,
Otherwise, it's too late. It's too late to do it in secondary school. It's too late to do it in start of training, if you like, or afterwards, because the opportunity for reflection is lost. And I also want to say one other thing about reflection is that it gives us all an opportunity to make our up own minds about the social and cultural context. At the moment, we are given very few opportunities to think about that. If this is missing part of our education, we are the awareness people, aren't we, as therapists? So if we are not aware of all these contexts, our personal contexts, our backgrounds, our positions
mm,
on politics and including within the profession and the structures we live in and the house we live in, um, we are living in a vacuum. So one thing, an analogy I like to give is the Truman Show. Have you watched that Truman Show?
yes, indeed.
Um,
Yes, yes,
it's basically about a person who's been televised and doesn't realize that what he's living is not a true life. It's being televised, effectively a
yeah,
reality
yeah,
show from
yes,
birth.
yes,
So the analogy I like to draw with that is that I believe is our that is actually a story about us, that we are somehow taught not to think about beyond our own interpersonal experiences. But actually, we live in a structure, we live in a house. So that's the bridge, that's the important part of the book, is to
yes.
break that sort of the Truman Show, break those walls a little bit,
Yeah,
and let's see what's out there as well
mm,
in that.
yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
That's a powerful metaphor. Really powerful. Yeah, like seeing beyond
Right.
that tiny container that is being lived in,
Yeah,
for all of us. Yes, yeah.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
I also think, Mahmood, how you're describing to us feels really compassionate in saying, as we kind of break that Truman Show experience, the level of complexity in ourselves and one other person, never mind a whole groups and communities, is just overwhelming. And to
yeah,
like that you're acknowledging and kind of saying to us, well, if you feel overwhelmed, you're heading in the right direction. Like this is because
yeah.
you're starting to
I think that's a good
experience.
way.
Yeah, yeah. So that feels really compassionate because I,
Yes,
in the human experience, we're often excluding experience so that we can manage the complexity, trying to simplify things. But you're really helping us in a compassionate way to see that and then manage it. So that feels really, yeah, a
yes,
great way to approach things. And
yeah,
like, I guess the intention of the book is then that training institutions take the book. It's a core text for students, for trainers, and
yeah,
the training organizations will then redevelop the training in through this lens. And
yeah,
could you say a little bit about how an organization might do that as they begin to engage the book? What kind of changes would you wish to see? I mean, everything takes time, but how could an organization begin to do that, Mahmood? Yeah.
yes. It's almost like, John, you read my mind and you asked me all the right questions
I'm glad
at the
we're
right
heading
time.
it.
Uh,
Thank you, Mahmood.
yeah,
That's very
and by
generous.
the way, this is not rehearsed. This is just a conversation. We don't know what questions are coming out. Yeah, this is the
Thank you,
important
Mahmood.
point.
Yeah.
The embeddedness is in the primary school education.
Yeah,
And so the book actually has a chapter on changing the curriculum, how it can be done. And I stumbled on a very easy answer, luckily. Um, uh, the good thing is that the so far it's only been 2 weeks. I have almost every day training providers saying, tutors mainly, saying they've actually started to use it. I think it's the timeliness of it because this is the start of the new year,
it's perfect. But yeah,
etc. So the models that I'll show, I'll just demonstrate later on, can be used directly with students. So the key message in terms of what we do with that is to say, start the journey. So one of the tutors said they used it for positionality of, so it's day one, students reflecting on their positionality, using the model to reflect on these are all aspects of yourself. What's your position with these? Where does it cause problems? Where are the strengths in that? And also then asking the students about needs and adjustments and those sorts of things around it because it exposes things like accessibility, access, barriers, and adjustments as well. So therefore, in terms of the curriculum, the book is the curriculum. You just got to follow it. But a key quick win that is very cost effective, costs you nothing, and anyone could do it today, is to do the exercise with that self model that I'll present later on and just reflect on it. Uh, because once they have the model in their mind, so this is about a mind shift, isn't it? They can then carry that forward into the rest of the training. Because if it's at the end of a training or an add-on, it's too late. Because then once they've got that model, and I haven't explained it, they can think about ethics, they can think about risk, they can think about relationships, they can think about positionality, they can think about AI, they can think about all sorts of practices, skills, they can think about the marketing they do. And by teasing that out at the start, what their values are, what they believe in, what their orientation is towards justice, etc., it sort of straight away it is embedded into the mindset, and therefore it carries on throughout. Um, and that's the solution, because I knew the solution had to be simple. It can't be overly complicated where we are, otherwise it's going to be hard to transition to it. So the model of the relationship 2.0 is what's needed. And that's just a simple uplift to what we do now. And then everything else can be then follow along from that. Other modules need to be updated and so on as time goes by. But that's the key quick vision, and that will get us there much more rapidly than trying to do this complexity thing. It's simple model, it's there, it's complete model, I believe. And that's the starting point. You start from the surface, and that's where as therapists we know we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
yes,
And then by engaging it with yourself, we then understand ourselves. Then we understand our clients are always contextually different to us, whether it's identity, belief, and so on, backgrounds, lived experiences, and so on. Then we have already this frame of reference to say, this is me, this is what I know, this is what you know, and collaboration, relationship building, into responses, interventions, and so on. So that's the long short answer of the curriculum and what we changed. But the book offers a separate chapter on exactly the key things because it's about learning, it's about teaching readiness, it's about organizational readiness, it's about learning. this environment and the assessment as well. But this is a key point because we can't just do this and not assess it as part of the student experience as well.
Yeah.
That's a quick minute on that.
Well, it feels like a real like it's um I want to say a moment of genius, but like the whole thing is ingenious in that because it could be overwhelming for a course provider to then think we've got to overhaul the whole curriculum today, as our
Yes.
students are
Yeah.
starting. And of course, that's just not going to be possible. So having that a, a starting point that's going to influence the whole course is
Yes.
just that's it's a very impressive way of thinking about it. And once that's in the conversation, it's going to be having an impact on the whole course. And then, of course, the course provider is going to feel compelled as well to make those changes because it was just going to make so much sense
Yes. Yes.
once that process has begun. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great summary of that. Yeah. Just
yeah,
just to embed it straight away. Because the arms are coming around the whole thing, and then that's like it's an open-end exploration, and it's not a directedness. It's like asking questions about beliefs, meaning, and knowledge, what your experiences are, identity, communities,
yeah.
where have you lived, and how does that influence you? So you actually eating your own food, the classic eating your own food.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. And this is such a marked difference. I mean, I trained about the same, maybe a little bit earlier than you, Mahmood, and we're probably having the same experience where you're doing a 2-year course, that kind of time period, and spend one day on thinking about diversity. It's not integrated into the training. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's maybe an add-on is a little bit harsh in term, but or maybe not
Yeah.
actually that harsh. It's just one piece, and then we got on with the business of training as a counselor in a way. And this is a whole different way of thinking about things that is well overdue in the training field.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
so
Yeah.
important.
I agree. Again, you're making the right statement at the right time, because this is where I come in and say, because the book is actually providing a framework for the assessment of knowledge and practices. The book shows you and demonstrates to you the gaps that we've already had all along, but never thought they were gaps.
Yeah,
So if you think about a simple skill like self-reflection, we reflect on our own embodiment, have we reflected on our own identities, have we reflected on our cultures, and so on. So the book is demonstrating also the gaps that were already there,
yeah,
not only in each piece of understanding like self-care and stuff like that, but also in skills. So there's about 10 new skills that I assessed were needed that were baseline skills rather than specialized add-ons. It is important to know what I think about some of the stuff around us. There is no such thing as cultural competence. There is the relationship. I'll explain more of that. There is, of course, there is, but there is a positioning with all this. There's no such thing as trauma informed. There is no such thing as affirming. These are needed. I'm not saying they're not needed, but there's no such thing because they are to be embedded in the relationship.
like seeing these things as
I think I've
add-ons.
lost you again.
Oh, have are you losing me, Mahmood? I
Yeah, a
think
little
there's
bit, but we
yeah.
can, yeah.
Thank you for being patient with my connection. Well, I'm
Um,
I'm thinking about the time, and I wonder whether this would be a good time. I could do a little bit of work on my connection as well. Whether you might also have some comments from some of the contributors that are here. I
yeah,
think there A couple of
Yeah,
colleagues have managed to come in today. And
yeah,
did you want to introduce some colleagues and
yeah,
invite for a little bit discussion? What do you think, Mahmood? Or
yeah. Absolutely.
yeah,
That's
so
what we wanted to do.
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and I can see some of the contributors here and reviewers of the book. Great. Really welcome everyone here. And it'll be great to, if people want to speak something about their contribution and perhaps linking it to the theme of embedded practice and curriculum and student experiences as well. In no particular order, if you don't mind, I'll just ask a few people to say something and perhaps introduce yourself and the piece that you're worked on. I'll just do it in whatever order is here. Is it okay to call Mel Haleka on that, starting off with, if you don't mind? Just have a little chat about it.
My audio. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, great. Thanks, Mel.
Well, good morning, everybody. So my name is Mel Hallecker, and I run a disability support service, and wish we didn't exist, really. So it's very exciting that Mahmood's been able to put this together. And over the years, I've had many questions from, therapists and clients on why do you need a specific disability service? And always been passionate that, yeah, one day I hope. Um, so yeah, it's exciting that we can come together from all the different angles and the framework can apply, that's going to be so powerful, I think, moving forward. And definitely I agree with what Mamoon was saying. We know in terms of disability that people already have an opinion about it from the age of 5. And so it's trying to I would like to bring it into schools as well, primary schools, and this kind of embedded practice and tolerance, and how do we deal with difference. Um, and yeah, so myself and Katie worked on this chapter. Um, Katie Evans has lived experience of being disabled, and my spouse is disabled. So we work really well together, providing, both angles. And yeah, I think sharing my own experience. So I trained, a long time ago. When was it? 2009, I think. And we did, I think, 2 hours on disability. And then, I did one of my presentations on disability, and it always felt, oh, Mel goes again. It was always kind of received in a kind of a negative, or, you're banging on that old drum again. So, um, so it's always been difficult. And I think what's exciting about embedding it in training is, so when I get asked, or me and my team, we get asked to do like a lecture or a training day. So a few years ago, I remember there were all different workshops, and you've got a conference going on. And, there were 30, 40 people in all the other workshops. And in the disability workshop, we had 6 people, of which half of them were disabled or had a disabled family member. We were just like saying we're preaching to the converted here. How do we, reach the people um, that find it uncomfortable? And interestingly, talking to those participants, they said even for them who had lived experience, it was a challenge for them to actually come and attend my workshop. They had to kind of speak to themselves. And we know, you know, where disability is kind of a little bit different is that anybody can wake up being disabled in the next hour, the next morning. And so there's a lot of unconscious processes that we distance ourselves because it could happen to us at any point. And I guess our job at spokespeople, as well as supporting our disabled clients and family members, is trying to encourage therapists to face these kind of unconscious fears, which are there for all diversity groups, aren't they?
Yeah.
The othering and things like that. Um, uh, so I don't know. Yeah, if that answers, if you've got any other questions for me and want me to respond specifically to anything.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Mel, and also thanks for Katie Evans on that piece. Obviously, that was for me, that piece is really strong. It's really it's really capturing lived experience in a very, very compact and succinct way. It's starting that journey. So really, it was really to thank you and say, but I know also there's lived experiences in there that are really going to be useful for everyone to hear. And I think that's the piece, isn't it? So the embedded piece, this is we called it disabled by society. That's sort of the change in reframing that as well, isn't it? So I don't know if that was a helpful way of sort of framing it to students, isn't it? That whole thing. And I think that was really helpful for me in my process as well, sort of say there's no such thing as privileged identities. There's no such thing as privilege because society privileges you with that identity rather than intrinsically you're privileged in that social position. So that was a
Mm.
really important part of my own process. Thank you very much. Okay. Um, is there anything else on that? Any questions? Let us know. So I can't see everyone here. Perhaps Zena, could you say something about, about your piece and what this is about? Hi, Zena.
Hi. Um, yeah, thank you, Mahmood. So I'm Zena Nicholas. I've founded Counsellor Staff Room, and more recently the co-practice community. So they're both therapist communities. And the piece I wrote with Helen Bennett, who was also a founder and co-admin of the Facebook group, was around community. And I think it's really interesting
I don't know if it's me,
and
Zena, but
exciting
your
actually
sound is
to
quite
hear.
faint. It might be just me. Do
Is
you,
I'll try and speak louder. Do you want me to quickly see if I can adapt?
it might be just
Let
me.
me,
I'm not sure
if
what
I
other
speak
people,
at
if
this
they
volume,
can hear
is
you.
that better?
We can hear,
How's this?
Zina.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So being embedded in relationship and talking about, that when you talk about this as something that starts in primary school, is feels really relevant. So the journey and the piece we wrote was about the development of the community, basically, and how. So I started it quite spontaneously and naively, having no clue really what it would be like to run a community, let alone a Facebook community, and so the piece talks about really how really shortly after that the context really that started to come into how people interacted in the community. So we had COVID, we had the murder of George Floyd, we had Black Lives Matter movement, we started to have conversations about trans identity, and all of this made it really clear that actually to be in community we'd have to be really mindful about where we were and why we were there. So one thing that stands out to me is, like, as therapists, we're in different spaces and those different spaces have different purposes. This group was called the staff room. That was the idea, was it was a place for everybody, a place where everyone should be able to contribute. And what we learned very quickly and how to adapt the rules and the moderation of the space is that in order for that to happen, we'd have to understand how that's experienced by different people and how the context of what's going on in society at the time or in a particular conversation is going to have a different level of impact on people depending on who they are. I hope I'm making sense.
No, that makes sense to me. That
Yeah.
makes,
So,
yeah.
I mean, so there was something about, in all honesty, the driver for it was I was really enjoying the community at the beginning. It
Yeah.
felt really warm and it felt really fun. And then I think as a brown person admining the group, I probably had more insight because Black and brown members were willing to message me and say why they are not contributing or how certain posts affect them. And so I had to think, hold on, it can't be fun for everybody if that's the case. So and it's all like a learning. We're continuously learning. We've just set up an advisory group to help advise how we handle some of this stuff, because it's never easy. There's not a clear right or wrong answer, but there's the intent. Yeah. And if the intent is to have a community where people can belong, that's what drives what we're doing. And I think, what the book's done, it's brought the intent back down to the relationship, hasn't it? And I think the problem before, it felt like the intent was still like observing the client, and in the therapy room, and not, it didn't kind of go to that basic level.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Does that all make sense?
No,
Sorry,
that's great.
I
And
don't
that's
feel very
that's so this is adding another layer of to thinking about the relationship. As you're saying, it's like um how those dynamics work. And I'm glad you said about, what are the invisible voices or minds that's thinking in the group? Do they feel included, belonging, and so on? And what do they need as well? Because that's the great thing about it, is that you're trying to figure out that as well as you go along, is what's needed, and doing our best to make the effort to include, I don't like that word, but let's say include those voices. And a lot of them is because of othering, difference, marginalization, and so on, and power dynamics. So it's an interesting one from a book perspective. It's a position in the advocacy aspect of it. It's position in the relationship aspect. So it really fitted in really nicely with what we're trying to do, and demonstrate some of that, what can be going on in a group, especially when the group was so big, which is another interesting dynamic. And incidentally, I know one of the authors of another section is actually writing about group dynamics and group support in a book form. And I did mention to them about the online space and how that adds another dimension to understanding group dynamics as well. So it's really about advocacy. It's about also asking students to also reflect on their interests. Are they interested in joining a group, running a group, advocating for a specific issue, or in this case, it's obviously about general support for therapists primarily. So really thanks a lot for doing that. I know Helen Bennett was also involved at the time as well, thanking her. And just doing it so quickly and putting it out there and trusting me with that as well, because what is it going to be useful as well? So the embedded, it is, I'm glad you said about also the embedded into the relationship. This is about, and the good thing is that it's introducing the wider picture of interconnected relationships, not just about individual to individuals relationships as well.
Absolutely. And if I could just quickly add
Yeah.
that another thing I think it shows around what could be happening in the silence. And actually, if we don't have a very representative space, we're never going to always hear. I heard, because I'm a brown woman, there will be things I'm not hearing about, and I think that is another important factor, who's involved, because they bring the experience, and part of how I described the intent to the community was there's actually huge value in everyone feeling like they can speak, because they all bring their own experience. And if people feel that they don't belong, then we all lose out, because we all lose on one aspect of experience. So that who people are, I think that's an important part of it, and what we have to gain by creating spaces where people feel that they can speak.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Zena. Thanks for supporting. Okay, so I think Mel Cavuco. Sorry, I haven't asked you to pronounce your name properly. I've tried.
Hello.
That's the first time I get away with it, hopefully.
It's Chivuko and it's fine. Sometimes
Ah,
I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right myself, to be honest.
okay, thanks, Mel. Welcome, and yeah, just let us know.
What would you like to? I had to step out before. I'm so sorry about that if you're
No, it's
after me now.
okay. We're just asking really, just to tell us about yourself and the piece really, and its relevance to sort of the initial education, I guess, with students.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I wrote the section on body image and disordered eating, which was quite a lot to get into a small section. I think it started out probably about 8,000 words in my bit because there's just so much that I wanted to put in it. And probably too much of me being like, everyone needs to know all these things. And I think actually there was a fabulous job of editing it down to get to the kind of essence. I was just really pleased for it to be a part of the book because so many other books and so many other things in training I hadn't seen really about body image and disordered eating. I was already interested in that, so I kept bringing it in. So everyone on my training probably didn't stop hearing about it because of my interest in it. I'd worked for eating disorder charities for quite a long time before I'd started training, so I kind of already had my niche before my niche. But I very much look at it through a view of weight stigma and advocating for people in larger bodies, particularly because eating disorders have a lot of myths around them. Of usually for people who don't know that much about them, you just kind of assume young white teenage girls with anorexia, but actually the view of eating disorders and disordered eating is way broader than that. So I really wanted that to come across and sit it in a kind of context of weight stigma. But within the book, I suppose it sits in a wider context of it should be here because we all have bodies and they all intersect with different aspects of our identities. And it is one of those things that is just an unspoken thing that I really feel needs to be talked about because, and I think it's a source of discomfort to talk about weight and body size and appearance. And a lot of therapists can be quite scared of doing that, scared of working with eating disorders. A lot of people tell me that, but I wonder if it's really that, or if it's the conversations about weight and body size and weight stigma, weight discrimination, weight biases, and how there are judgments and privileges and biases that come with different body sizes in our society. So this idea that you're saying before about the kind of open secret, I think I really relate to that in this as well. And um, I'm so pleased that I could contribute this part and case study as well.
Yeah, and the case study was brilliant. Thanks, Mel, for that quick run through of that. Yeah, the body is the missing piece. We talk about embodiment so much. We talk about and how it intersects the image with other marginalized positions, gender non-conforming, race, etc., and featureism and the look. So this is really opening up a huge part of that foundation that we cannot just ignore the body. It's there. It's visible in that sense. So it's like, what are we doing without including this our self-understanding of ourselves? As with all this, it's that self-under then so it's really grateful that you did it so quickly, so passionately, and I know you had a lot of other stuff on with your own training as well. So thank you very much. Well,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thanks. Okay. So we have there's 16 contributors in the book, case study sections, and so on. Some of those will be attending our second event. I think it's November the 7th. Could someone just confirm that in the text box, perhaps? And we'll cover a different theme in that. So today's theme is more about the curriculum and the student experience, let's say. and that the theme there will be more about the daily practice and what it means in terms of social consciousness and justice as well. So, other thing I wanted to say as we're here, I can see a number of reviewers are here, some people that have been involved with TADF and training for since the year dot. Really grateful for them being here as well. Reviewers I wanted to really thank as well, because I think thinking about reviewing process, reviewing is an invisible activity and no one really sees it. You see the book, the final product, but reviewers, knowing myself, is that what it takes to actually review a chapter or several chapters for most people, that actually takes a lot of time, effort, energy, and it's a very, what's the word? A task that is full of responsibility in a way, because actually this is going to go out in the world, and if we don't have a reasonable quality, it's not going to go down well. So really, I can see some of the people here. Sil, I can see Ellis here. I can see Corinne here. Apologies if I missed anyone as well. Um, don't feel, and obviously then there's Sam, um, who's actually been instrumental in this work, mentoring, reviewing, and so on. No pressure to say anything. We don't want to don't put you on the spotlight or anything like that. But I just open to sort of like a comment, perhaps, if you would like, only if you like to. Don't feel that you have to. So thanks very much. And if you want to say something, can. I probably haven't prepped anyone to say actually you're going to put on the spot. So it's like,
okay, I'm happy
I
to.
thought,
I'm happy to go. Hi, I'm Sylvia. I'm also from Bristol. I am an integrated counselor, geek therapist, and a liberation practitioner, and I work with Polish survivors of sexual abuse here at Opoka in Bristol. And it was a huge honor to review quite a few chapters. And thank you so much, Mahmoud, for sending more and more, because I felt quite hungry to read more. It's just such a pleasure to see the book that we really, really, really need. And it's interesting we're talking about training today, because I trained as a practitioner, as a Polish citizen during the very, very core of Brexit, which was very challenging and incredibly educational for me as a practitioner to see. And I also have to put my hands up, because my college put the diversity at the core, actually. It was the first module, and that's what we started with. And I could see how incredibly important it is, and how very little literature there is on the topic. So I think what you're doing is you're giving all of us a compass to start the work, to center the work, and it's an enormous opening for a lot of change for those practitioners who want to bridge the difference and maybe never knew how to, where to start from, and a reminder for everybody else that it's important. So it was a real pleasure, and as a person who works and is passionate about digital spaces and digital activism, it's such a forgotten part of our work, and it's only just beginning. So thank you for including it, because again, it's absolutely non-existent. So it was a real pleasure to read the contributions on that topic.
yeah, thanks, Sil, and all those reviews. But I think that's a really important point. The tech, we have a relationship with tools. We have a relationship with technology. We're going to have a relationship with AI. So it needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else? Go on, Andrea.
Yeah, I think again, I just wanted to say what a privilege it was for me as well. And I think when I was reviewing, and I think now I'm thinking about properly getting into the book, I feel some excitement, but also I think a bit of grief. I think from what you were saying earlier about my own experience of training and being in counsellor forums and community spaces as well, and how I felt, as a queer person, as a trans person, I think over the years in various stages of being out or not out, and what that's been like, and with class and other things that I So some grief, I think, about my own experience of training as a therapist and continuing to be in and around people in the profession and what that feels like.
Yeah.
And a huge kind of thinking about reviewing it from my own perspective, but also what people need, and thinking what are people going to get from this that I maybe didn't get, and that being a really joyful thing to think about as well, as much as it is some sadness as well. But thank you for the possibility, I think, for people.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for the review and sharing your lived experiences. These are very deeply personal things as well. Thank you, Corinne. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you're
Oh,
here.
great. Fantastic. I just wanted to say thank you. So again, saying the same as everyone else, thank you so much for such an amazing book. I was the same. I got very excited about actually being involved in this this pursuit of actually doing it, because it was so needed, and I was so passionate about doing this course. I had a lot of personal things going on when I was doing this course, but I just wanted to have something like this, some proper thing that counsellors didn't get. And I actually started my training in America, and this was very much one of the core courses that I did. And then I had to come back and retrain in England, and it was all very white, and I didn't understand why there wasn't a course on it. And when I think a lot of people, when they have something they advocate for, like the other ladies and the other people in the course, when they've said, you know, this is something that should be part of it, and felt very passionate about it. And every time I kept saying, what about brown people? What about diverse people? They kind of rolled their eyes and thought, oh, here she goes again. Yeah. And it's just great that you're starting from the ground up by saying this is so important. This is a whole person. This needs to be addressed. So I was, just doing the course with you, I was always very excited, the fact that we can actually have someone that's listening to everybody rather than just having the typical, as we read. I mean, I just found a book in my thing, and it's Robert Guthrie, Even the Rat Was White. That was one of the books that one of my counsellors gave me, my tutors, when I was in America, about the psychological, testing. Even the rat was white, that all, and that just really, I was a undergraduate student. I was just like, oh my God, keep reading these studies and reading these books and reading all these, ways and approaches. What about the other people? I always used to ask that. So thank you so much. I was very honored to be a reviewer, and I just think this is groundbreaking.
Thank you, Corinne, so for your support and those messages, and being involved with this, and through the training and TADF. It's like amazing to have that voice as well. It sounds like a great book recommendation, probably for someone to type in probably into the box if someone wants to read that. And the journey. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And Sam?
Am I the last one to go? No pressure.
Not least, of course.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Sam. I'm probably the other half in TADF. I'm Mamad's partner in crime at TADF, so I know some faces and others might not know me. I am also a therapist, facilitator and group facilitator at TADF. Being a reviewer / editing and scribbling lots of things, I would probably say it's a privilege. It's a lot of pressure. But when Mamad said he was going to write this book, I had a feeling he was the right person to do. He was going to be the one to do it. It's a groundbreaking book, and I have to say the amount of times I've had to read it, and the editing process, and probably the toughest critic Mamad's probably had. But in reality, I know the kind of outlook he wanted, and I really believe he's delivered. But I have to say, every time I've gone through that book, I realise all the things I didn't have in my own training, how I was missed, and I didn't even realise it. How many times other people were missed and I didn't realise it. And that is also part of the belief at TADF, that we want to include, we want to capture, and we want to hear voices, and make it inclusive. So part of that work has really helped. Also, this book gives you the ideas, the exercises, the reflection pieces, and the how-to. I think that part's really important. So I'm very proud of you. You deserve this moment. It's going to be a great book. And not to plug it, but it's right here. So no matter how many times you read it, you will hear or kind of experience people you've known, clients you've experienced, you know, so hopefully it will be well received. But hopefully it was a journey, Mem.
Yeah, thanks
A
for
great
that.
journey.
Yeah, brilliant having you there, as always, mentor in every way. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to open it up to anyone else who wanted to comment here. Anyone else wanted to say something, ask a question, anything you like. You could put it in the text box. And then after that, then we'll focus in on the solution a bit in this time that we've got, a summary of that.
I'm
Just seeing
just
does
keeping my
anyone
eye
else
on the
want to.
chat as well. Oh, there's some applause coming up through the Zoom emoji, so thank you
Yeah.
to the colleagues for that. You can see a colleague writing in the chat, a kind of repetition of that. Even the rat was white. Just hearing that, thinking about that, it's just so shocking, isn't it? It's just incredible. Yeah. And just really appreciating all these contributions today. They're quite finding them really moving and touching. The personal experience that has driven the
Yeah.
experience of the book. It's making me think about my own training too. So much here with
Yes.
us. I think as we're
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything else in the chat just now,
I
and
didn't.
oh, here we are. So thank you for this. I won't use a name, so just in case that's important
Yeah.
for the colleague. So I won't unmute myself as I got a bad cold, but I'm so grateful to you, Mahmood, for writing this book. And while I'm broken-hearted for so many of us who were missed in trainings, like Sam said, there's so much hope for new students now. The book has literally been written. Yeah. Adriana, thank you for, yeah, we can use my name. So thank you, Adriana Prado, for that comment. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adriana.
Yeah.
So great to hear your words and really being part of this, along the way. It's actually having that thread of connection with people, and I think that really it gave me the drive. Really, I really had the people in mind, and that was part of the connection to drive the book forward. Thank you very much, Adriana. Okay, so I guess
This is
time is
not an
ticking on.
academic experience. Well, it's not only academic, is it? That there's been
Yeah,
so much said about the deeply personal experience of being missed.
yeah,
That resonates so much with the story that you told from your own training, Mahmood.
yeah.
The reality of all that. Yeah.